Yeah. 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 Hey. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. 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 Hey. Hey. Yeah. 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 This is Lichtman Live Post Show, the greatest post show that's ever existed on the face of humanity on planet Earth. And nobody can argue that. What is up, everybody? Troll says, Sam, you look healthier for some reason. Healthier. So I was looking unhealthy before? I got a haircut. Maybe that's why. Hello, Suzanne AP. Ann Dunning says, Sam, I ask you to dance an old dance with me. You can't improve the font size on your screen with either of two means. What? Thank you, Zuko. Matthew says it was a great show. Hello, Fat Bass Slab. Hello, Jason. Tim. We are live, Abe. Troll says it was a compliment. All right, I'll take it as a compliment. I thought you were saying I looked unhealthy before, but you're just saying I look healthier. What's good, Obsidian King? Alex Blanco. Hi, Sam. Can Trump become president again if Vance picks him as VP? If Vance resigns and runs in 28? Maybe. It's possible. Hello, Julianne. Joe Yuka says, it was a great show. I'm glad to hear that. You can type plus with your... I'm not sure what you're saying. Clitica Powell says, in 2024, half the world voted. Do you believe this anti-incumbent sentiment is because Putin used this incredible timing to interfere in all elections with disinformation to boost his chance in Ukraine? No, I think it's more of a circumstance of post-COVID world affairs, probably. Hello, Susie K. Yes, says, love your daddy, makes me smile. It makes me smile, too. I hope you're having a good day, too, Julianne. I am having a good day. George Smith says, on a good note, Braves win. I don't care about the Braves, dude. Eddie says, oh my God, Sam, help me. My panty is falling. Okay, chill, bro. Chill. You were sad after losing your job. Yeah, that's true. And I'm not dismissing you. I'm just not sure exactly what you're saying. Hello, Joe Brooks. Victor, Tony. The playful banter you have with your dad always makes me smile. Good. That's my goal, is to make people smile. So, mission accomplished. J. Carrion. Hello. Dave C. says, you and your dad run an awesome show. Thank you. I appreciate that. 219 people watching. If you want to throw a like on this, that would be great. I'd appreciate that much. You know, I'm trying to grow my own channel too. You know, my dad's getting older. Got to establish my own channel here. We are One Voices. We love you and your dad. All great insights. Thank you. Who's the most famous person your dad's ever met? I can't answer that. Dad! I don't think he can hear me. He's a little deaf. It's like watching Tom and Jerry, two different personalities, but a great show. Nice. How do likes help? So likes help because YouTube uses likes as a tool of like, hey, people are enjoying this video. Let's suggest... It pumps the algorithm because they say, oh, look, a lot of people are liking this video. And we should suggest it to other people because we see that a lot of people are liking it. Also, like percentage. So if it's like 90% or greater like it rather than dislike it, they also say, look, a lot of people are liking this rather than disliking it, so let's push this out in our algorithm. Your dad should make his whole case for a Trump dictatorship even being possible from start to finish steps of how and why. Yes, I remember you suggesting that before. Thank you for suggesting it again. Consistency is the key for YouTube, no doubt. On a good note, Nats win. Yeah, did the Nats beat the Dodgers? That's crazy. I thought the Dodgers were like unbeatable. The algorithm. Thank you, George. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Dave C. Inlay says, Amendment 12 forbids Trump running as vice president. It basically says if you can't run for president, you cannot run for vice president. He served 2 terms, so amend the 12th means he can't run for vice president. Thank you for that information. I've heard people suggest that, actually, now that I think about it. Would Richard Nixon join Donald Trump if he was still alive? Yes, absolutely. Subscribing also helps and it's free, says Joe Yuka, no doubt. Eddie says, I will continue to watch your and your dad. It's very educating. Thank you. Brian says, Sam, have you or your dad ever seen the movie A Face in the Crowd with pre-Mayberry Andy Griffith? It tells the Trump story 50 years before Trump and is very, don't know that last word. I haven't seen that. I will check it out. When you put text on the screen, it comes across as fuzzy on the phone. You can zoom in, either typing. I did zoom in. I usually zoom in. Why is your dad's lectures during the daytime and weekday? I can't go because of work. I don't know. I don't know anything about those lectures. Other than he says, hey, can I talk about it on the show? And I say, it's your show. Of course you can. Sam, don't you get paid by YouTube outside of memberships and donation, or is it required that you meet a certain threshold of sub count? You do get watch page ads outside of subs and memberships, but I don't know what the word would be, but YouTube doesn't pay you very well for that. You think a lot of views would get you rich, but it really doesn't. Would Ronald Reagan endorse Trump given how much they disagree on policy, particularly on immigration? I sort of feel like Reagan would be a rhino. Not a rhino, but that's what the Trumps would call him because I think he would be anti-Trump. What the heck is wrong with Congress? You know they don't really promote these tariffs. It's a MAGA House of Representatives. What are you going to do? I mean, they're MAGA. Check out the movie The Garden of Finzi Continis. Nice hair, dude. Thanks. I got a haircut. Do you think Trump can turn America into an authoritarian country like Russia? I don't think so, but if you would ask me this, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I am more convinced of it now than I was then, which is a bad sign. Politica Pal says, I looked at Trump's media's stock price, and there was an unusual spike during 2024. I believe this coincides with an inexplicable explosion of disinformation leading up to the election. Do you agree? I'm not sure what you mean by Trump media stock. Sam, do you think Trump will back down on these tariffs before the next midterm? I have no idea. That's a hard question to answer. I don't think he's going to back off on these tariffs unless he gets not just capitulation from these other countries, but massive capitulation from these other countries. Have I ever seen Gangs of New York? I have. Joe says, you got me playing GeoGuessr. Heck yeah. Susie K says, for YouTube, daily content and comments/engagement is key. So folks comment on Sam's videos. Yeah, that would be great too. Yeah, that would be great. Abe says, the Reagan-era Republicans are a whole different group than what we have now. I love how anti-Trump Barbara Bush was. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Reagan would be a big Trump fan. What's cost of lecture? What's cost of lecture? Trump crushed our retirement. We literally bought our retirement home already and own both homes. Now we may need to work 2 more years. That's what Trump did to us in 3 days. I know that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. Cynthia says, I think Trump will start walking back tariffs very soon with some countries and claim victory. Yeah, that's a possibility as well. What do you think of Gavin Newsom's statement? in terms of the state of California's tariff negotiations. I'm not sure what he said exactly. Troll says, I don't really like China at all, and I'd prefer America any day, but I do like that they are not bending to Trump and giving him some resistance. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Chinese Communist Party either. What are some of the key disagreements that Reagan and Trump would have on policy? Tariffs, for one. I mean, wasn't Reagan like extremely anti-tariff? Future Shock says, love listening to you guys on night walks. Heck yeah. Will N says, really enjoy the show. Canadian here. How you? Let me do my best Canadian accent. What? A boot. Would you guys talk about how Trump's threats on tariffs revigorate the federal liberals in Canada? Canadians seem to be rejecting the right now. That's a good point. I mean, we don't talk about Canada that often because my dad's an American expert and not a Canadian expert, but a lot of this affects Canada for sure, and the internal politics of Canada for sure. Newsom said he would deal with countries directly, but not sure he could cut out the feds. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that would work. I mean, again, so far it's just words. I don't know how real that is, or maybe it is, but I don't know. He made a statement to foreign leaders asking them to reconsider California because California didn't vote for Trump and the state's economic power. Again, I don't know how that would work exactly. Do you believe there will be a massive blue wave in 2026 and 28? 26 probably, 28, but the Senate's going to be tough. I went over this in the previous live. 28, it's too far to tell. Vladimir says Reagan would also likely be very anti-Putin. That's a good point, and perhaps refer to him as Soviet Empire 2.0. I think that's a very good point. Did you see the rest of Trump's comments about the hostages where he was speaking about the families getting their deceased loved ones back and seemed to not understand why? No, I didn't see that. Reagan granted amnesty to millions of immigrants. Can you imagine Trump doing that? I cannot imagine Trump doing that. We are one voice. I'm not a Reagan fan, but I don't think he'd lower his standards for Trump, and Trump is a divider. Oh, don't get me wrong. I don't like Reagan at all. I think his policies are really bad, but I think he's better than Trump. You know? Monty Burns says, I heard Canada increased their travel advisory to the U.S. and have said to expect more scrutiny. Interesting. Reagan was a big racist, too. Yeah, I think he was probably pretty racist. Vladimir says, tax breaks for the rich is among the few things they would agree on. Yeah. Have you and your dad ever seen Hamilton? Yes, we've both seen Hamilton and we both love it. We haven't seen it live, but we have seen the version on Disney Plus with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Troll said, Reagan supported apartheid when everyone's starting to think it was silly. Yeah, and I just want to be clear. I'm not defending Reagan here. I'm not a fan of Reagan at all. Do you think if Trump keeled over one day that MAGA would eventually end? They're following him more than the party. I do believe that he is the head of the snake of MAGA, and without the head of the snake, it's in big trouble. Yes. Would you guys ever do a meetup? Maybe, yeah. I think that's a possibility. Karen says, make no mistake about it, Reagan started the situation that we find ourselves in today. Very good point. A good question for your dad. What are the biggest historical inaccuracies of Hamilton? That's a good one. I don't know if he remembers it that clearly. He's only seen it once, but that is a cool question. Reagan tore walls down. Trump continues to put them up. Trump is openly racist, where Reagan was a closeted racist, or at least tried to seem that way. Again, I think that Reagan is better than Trump, but I think they both suck. Could Don Jr. or J.D. Vance become the new MAGA leader after Trump? I don't think so. I think MAGA will survive for a little bit after Trump, just because it's so powerful right now, and a lot of the right wing in this country eat it up. But I don't see any successor to Trump. J.D. Vance is not as charismatic. Don Jr. is like, I don't even think even MAGA people respect him that much. Disinformation is more effective than voter fraud because it discourages millions of people from voting and siphons millions to vote for the wrong candidate. I think that's a fair point. Rolo says, I'm confused about penguins. Trump put tariffs on islands outside of the Arctic Circle that don't have any humans on them, just penguins. That's the joke. Not the joke, but that's where the joke comes from. Reagan won his elections by a landslide. That's true too. Like, Trump didn't win the popular vote in the first election and did really well in the Electoral College the second election, but in terms of popular vote, he didn't do that well. He won by what? A few percentage points. I can't remember, but not a lot. Inlay says MAGA dies within 2 years of Trump being gone. I hear that. I'm firm in my belief that there is nobody out there in the Republican Party who can even hold a candle to Trump in terms of his leadership of MAGA. I'm not saying that J.D. Vance isn't going to be a powerful politician moving forward, but he ain't Trump. And Don Jr. is a joke. No one's voting for Don Jr., dude. But then again, people thought Donald Trump was a joke, but Don Jr. is even a bit. I don't know if there's anybody in the world who's a bigger joke than Trump, but his son, Don Jr., is that. He won less than 2% of the popular vote. There you go. Timbo Slice, thank you for the donation. Bro, please interview Nathan Taylor from the Election Truth Alliance. We are not doing interviews. It just doesn't really fit the format of our show. Do you think that the chaos caused by Trump's policies is deliberate, or is he just an idiot? I think he's just an idiot. I was listening to an Axios reporter today talk about Trump and his thoughts about tariffs, and this Axios reporter claimed, and we there's everybody can find there's old footage of Trump on like the Oprah show talking about tariffs, and he's been obsessed with tariffs forever. So I don't think he's just suddenly like, I want to ruin the country. What's the way to do that? Tariffs. I think he's actually obsessed with tariffs. According to this Axios reporter, Trump in his first term would tell people like, just wait till our second term. That's when the real economic change is going to happen. That's when the tariff, et cetera, et cetera. So he had this in his mind for a long time. I don't think it's some sort of new sort of diabolical plan. It's just his idiotic way of understanding the economy. Please tell us that Don Jr. will never run for president. I don't think Don Jr. is ever going to run for president. And if he does, he's not going to do well. Robert Lopez says, the market is going to collapse. Trump doesn't understand how tariffs work. Yeah, I mean, the market's not doing so well so far. I mean, when big policy comes out, you would expect something good to happen, but they say so far so good. This ain't the case. Sam, was Trump 24 inevitable? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so, though. Sam, do you think we will see martial law? I don't know. Not in maybe. I mean, I can't foresee the future, but based on the current situation, probably not. I've already called both economic keys, the social unrest key, the mandate key, both foreign policies, and both charisma keys false due to the pending disaster. Hey, more power to you. Do you think there will be a Black Wednesday on the black market with 100% tariffs on China implemented at midnight? I don't know nothing about the black market, so I don't know. What do you think MAGA is proud of the fact that Donald Trump is sending immigrants to foreign... Why do you think MAGA is proud of the fact that Donald Trump is sending immigrants to foreign prisons? Why do I think they're proud of that? Because that's exactly what they want. They want brown immigrants out of this country. Simple as that. Who is keeping track of the tariff money, and could it be going into Trump's pocket in Congress? It goes to like the U.S. Border and Customs, doesn't it? Robert Reich has a really good video on this, and he shows where the money goes. But there's no doubt that they're going to at least use that money to give massive tax breaks to probably mostly the rich. Thomas Kiphorn says, I'm an old dinosaur and would like to make a one-time donation to you and your dad's show, but can't figure out how to do it. Clicking on the join button doesn't show a donate choice. At the bottom of the chat, there should be a little icon that has a money, $1. If you click that, I believe you can donate. Jay Nicole says, Bernie gave a speech in 2003 that literally outlined this playbook. Bernie Sanders is a smart man. Peggy Cox says, thank you, Sam. I appreciate all the research you and the professor do in helping us understand this administration. Well, I appreciate you tuning in, because without you, none of that would matter. Joseph Schultz says, no, we want illegals out. Immigrants using the door correctly, the correct way, are very welcome. Okay, there you go. They want illegals out, so that's the answer. Do you think Bernie or Kelly, I'm assuming you mean Mark Kelly, are good runners for 2028? Bernie's too old. Kelly, sure. April 20th is a date I'm concerned about. What's happening April 20th? Black Wednesday was a 92 stock market crash. That's what we're talking about, not the black market. Oh, I see. I think I misread that. I don't know. The market's doing really poorly, and I don't see it bouncing back anytime soon unless something dramatic happens. Michael Yu says, tariff the billionaires. Hell yeah. Democrats must nominate someone like FDR for president. We've never had an FDR-like president for decades. You're not wrong, but I think it's hard to find an FDR-like president. Mitt Romney should run for president. He's a little old too, man. He's not even in the Senate anymore. I mean, I guess he left the Senate for MAGA reasons or rhino reasons or whatever, however you want to describe it. But I don't see him back in politics. That dude's rich too, right? Like, Victor Paz says, they aren't deporting Russians who came here illegally, but the tens of thousands through Arizona's port of entry. I mean, I said that. I said they're trying to get brown people out. People who came here from South and Central America. What is the name of the Robert Reich video about tariffs? Let me see if I can find it. That's not right. Hold on one second, guys. It's this one. The truth about Trump's tariffs. Go watch it. Spencer, thank you for your donation. Question above. Okay, let's see if I can find it. Thanks for doing these chats, Sam. It's fun hanging out, and I'm interested in making a YouTube channel. How did you get started? That's a very good question. So, making a YouTube channel is a lot harder than you think. It takes a lot more time and energy than you think. I first started doing YouTube probably in when was that? 2018, 2019. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I posted some funny videos. And then I started getting into music reaction, right? And I started getting some traction and some following doing some music reactions. But the issue with music reactions is you literally can't make money from it because all these big record companies claim your videos, even though technically it should be covered under fair use. But YouTube has big issues with fair use. They don't really follow it properly. So I kind of gave up on that music reaction thing because it just took so much time and energy, and I was literally making $0 from it. So I had been kind of in the YouTube brain for a while, and I thought, and my dad and I had tried some YouTube stuff before, and I had gotten into I really liked a lot of live streamers, and especially YouTube. I don't really watch Twitch that much, but YouTube stuff. And I was like, my dad is so smart and engaging. Like, why don't we just go live and have people ask him questions? That was the only thought I had. It was just like, hey, how about we just go live and people can ask you questions? And I just did a lot of research, and we made the channel, and we just started. You just got to start, and then we just started putting it. And we put out like 2 episodes, and my dad was like, there's not enough people watching. I don't want to spend my time doing this. Like, I'm busy, blah, blah, blah. But then I convinced him, I was like, if we push hard right now, by the election time, we're going to be doing buku numbers. Trust me. He was like, all right, I trust you. So we grinded. By election time, we were doing buku numbers, and we were doing crazy numbers. And along with my dad's channel, I've been trying to, use his channel to kind of funnel into my channel and grow my own channel. So that's how, very long story short. Inlay says, co-founder of YouTube went to my high school. Wow. Sensor says, good stuff. Glad you did it. Laura says, love it. Amazing. Thank you, Sam. That's my journey on YouTube. Everybody has their own, but tell us your dad's best and worst quality. His best quality is, his intelligence, his kindness, his stability. His worst qualities, he's extremely oblivious. That's probably his worst quality. He doesn't have many, but he's extremely oblivious, and sometimes that can get him in trouble. But it doesn't really bother me that much that he's oblivious, but he's, kind of that typical absent-minded professor. Like, he's very book smart. He's not as much street smart. Was I a history major like my dad? I was not. I was a communications major, which is how I got the skills, I think, to create this stuff, is going through media, communications, all that. Have I only been live for 28 minutes? How's that possible? It's 10:42. Anyways, I'm confused. People are worried that Trump will put into effect the Insurrection Act of 1807 on April 20th. Why April 20th specifically? And what is the Insurrection Act of 1807? Let me look that up. Insurrection Act of 1807. Nope. 8. See, look what I'm doing. Where's Susie Ann? See, I zoomed in. The Insurrection Act of 1807 is a United States federal law that empowers the President of the United States to deploy the U.S. military and federalized National Guard troops within the United States in particular circumstances, such as to suppress civil disorder, insurrection, or rebellion. So why do people think he's going to do that, and why April 20th specifically? Who do you think would win, your dad or Trump? I think Trump would be pretty scared. My dad's not notorious for being a great politician. Let's just say that. He did run for U.S. Senate, and he did not do very well. But of course, he would destroy Trump in any sort of policy or intellectual capacities. The Insurrection Act has to do with his mass crackdown on immigrants. 420 marks 90 days. I don't know. This seems sort of speculative. I'm not sure if I'm buying it, guys. Lichtman for Education Secretary. I think that would be good, honestly. He would do a good job. In a debate, Professor Lichtman would destroy Trump. I mean, I think, has Trump ever won a debate? One of the executive orders called for recommendations around the Insurrection Act due to the border crisis at the 90th or maybe 120th day, which lines up with April 20th. Okay, interesting. I hope that doesn't happen. Cynthia says my 11-year-old could beat Trump at a debate. Facts. Because of the protests set for April 20th. Seems like you guys have a lot of different reasons behind why this is happening. Sam, debates don't mean much to change voter minds. Yeah, I know that. I'm well aware of that. Thank you, Peggy. Blaze says 14-year-old me could beat Trump in a debate. I don't think Trump's ever won a debate. And yes, I agree with you, Blaze. The insurrection stuff is speculative, but he may... Oh, and then you deleted your comment. I wish Liz Warren would run. She would win big time. Is that a joke? She did run, and she didn't win big time. Military members have already come out and said they don't have the manpower to do it, so fingers crossed, to do the Insurrection Act. Spencer says Trump just shouts really loud, no doubt. Marveloso says presidential debates barely matter anymore. Dems are going to say Dems win, and GOP is going to say GOP wins. It's just glazing competitions at this point. I think that's a good point. Recently, there's been a noticeable surge in right-wing commentary coming from gaming personalities, for example, Asmongold. Why do you think this segment of YouTube pushes Trump so hard? I've noticed that too, and I've noticed I've also noticed Asmongold. Why do you think? Because it gets them, they're feeding their audience what they want, and it gets them clicks. We can see so many examples of right-wing media becoming really powerful and really rich, and I think people like Asmongold see that their audience wants that. I'm not saying he doesn't agree with the stuff he's saying. I'm not saying he's some sort of pure propagandist, but that's why. I don't know who Andy Pants is. Did you hear from David Pakman saying the left-wing media is surging on YouTube? I don't know anything about that. I mean, we're doing pretty well, but I wouldn't say we're surging. What do you think about Gavin Newsom hosting right-wing MAGA cigarettes to try to find common ground? I think it's kind of bullshit. I mean, I acknowledge that a lot of these right-wing influencers have a lot of power, and you can't ignore that. But to have a guy like Charlie Kirk on your podcast and kind of chat it up with him, you want to debate them in like a more formal setting, I think that's better. Miss Justice says, put a convicted felon and multiple bankrupt in charge of your country. What could go wrong? You're not wrong. Newsom comes across as fake and gives them a platform. So dumb. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, it's like, you want to debate them? Fine. You want to discuss, I don't know. My thing is like, people like Charlie Kirk are propagandists. He's not a serious man. He's not a man worried about the American people. He's not a man worried about proper policy. He's a propagandist and nothing more. So I understand letting him run free. He's gained all this power and say, but yeah, Charlie Kirk is a clown. Sam, do you want to be the next governor of California? Hell no, dude. That job would suck ass. That job is so hard. The governor of California? Maybe the governor of Rhode Island. Maybe that's easier. Did you see Elon Musk and Hassan Piker get into a Twitter war? No, and I don't care. I don't really like either of those people. Juan Carlos says, they seem desperate. They need to do what AOC, Sanders, and Booker are doing. I agree. That's a much better strategy than inviting freaking Charlie Kirk on your podcast. Newsom didn't even call them on their BS. That's sad. I didn't watch it, again, because I don't want to hear some right-wing propagandist say a bunch of bullshit. But the fact that he didn't even call them out is sad. Jay Nicole says, these influencers are seriously becoming scary. I have a 3-year-old son. If he was 13, I'd be terrified to let him near social media. I agree. And that's why I'm a little bit conflicted, because they are scary and they are gaining a lot of power, and you do have to do something about that. But again, I just don't think that chilling with them on a potty is, the right way to go about it. Do you ever feel hopeless for the state of our country? How do we keep hope? I haven't felt hopeless yet. No, I haven't felt hopeless yet. I am more scared now than I've ever been, but I'm not hopeless. And I think we can survive 4 years of Trump. Especially if he keeps ruling through executive order, because the next president will just roll all that back. Do you think social media will become regulated, or if it's a good idea to put guardrails on it? I think it needs some guardrails, yes. Even big companies like Meta have asked Congress, like, hey, regulate us a little bit, Do I remember the movie Animal House? I love that movie. Senator Blutarsky refers to the character John Bluto. Oh. Good to know. Thanks for telling me. I love that movie. Not sure we can survive 4 years under Trump. Depends on what else he throws at us. I think we can survive 4 years. If J.D. Vance becomes president next, that's when I start worrying. Or if, this third term stuff becomes real, which I don't think it will, then that's when I'm going to start worrying. Gavin Newsom is going to start to be a center-right candidate for the Dems in 28. We cooked. Dude, I don't like... if you've watched my streams, I've never been a fan of Gavin Newsom, even before his more modern sort of form. Cynthia says, you and I may survive Trump, but not everyone will. His mishandling of COVID led hundreds of thousands additional deaths that could have been avoided. That's a good point. Giancarlos, thank you for your donation. Keep doing what you and your father are doing. It's extremely important. Thank you. I appreciate you watching. Algorithm says no to Newsom. I agree. Jay Nicole says, I think social media and misinformation played a role in the January 6th disaster. Yeah, I agree. Dems will take back control of the House and likely the Senate, and then Trump's agenda is cooked. I do agree that we will see a blue takeover of Congress. Again, the Senate's going to be harder, but I think the House will go blue for sure. Inlay says, guys, I'm a Republican. We are just people. I hate MAGA and voted for Harris, but still a Republican. Fact is, Trump and MAGA aren't Republican, not conservative. That's fair. Siri Gleason says, I got my phone. January 20th, Trump declared national emergency at the southern border. In the declaration, it says within 90 days, he'll decide if he wants to invoke the Insurrection Act after he receives a joint report. Okay, that makes more sense. Cynthia says, my sister is battling cancer and is relying on Medicaid for survival. If Medicaid is cut, she will not survive. Seniors, depending on Social Security, will not survive. I'm sorry to hear about your sister, and you make a very valid point. Victor says the real issue is the algorithms that promote this propaganda. Algorithms can be regulated because they do not implicate speech. This may be one way to combat this. I've heard that too, that the algorithms love this right-wing propaganda, that the algorithms eat that shit up. Can you elaborate, Sam, why you don't think it was inevitable? What's inevitable? Inevitable. Imagine the two special elections in Florida recently. If these votes were held today, they probably wouldn't be able to get one Republican by. I mean, I don't know if that's true. Those are deep red districts, but that's an interesting thought. Why do you think the algorithm favors the right? Is it by design or due to other factors? From what I remember, I've heard pieces about this. Because they're off, the pieces from the right are often so inflammatory and often conspiratorial, et cetera, dramatic. It just causes a lot of people to engage with them, and that's what causes the algorithm to love it. The more engagement, the better. So if you're And again, the far right, I think, I'm not saying the far left doesn't practice this, but I don't think they practice it as well or as much. But the far right is putting out all this really dramatic, inflammatory, conspiratorial content. People love engaging with that, and the algorithm loves engagement. John, PUBG. John, I tried to play PUBG. I played it for about 5 seconds and I quit. I couldn't do it. Oh, you know where I read about the why right-wing propaganda gets so much, the algorithm loves it so much, from Renee DiResta, her book. I forgot what it was called. Let me see. Renee DiResta. Invisible Rulers, this book. If you want to learn more about algorithms and right-wing stuff, like she explains it very well, much better than I do. Tashdid Khan says, sensational journalism has been a staple of mainstream media, though. The right's version of it really plays on emotions, which fields controversies and counter-controversies. That's another thing, too. If it pisses off people and they engage with it, that's just as good for the algorithm as if people agree with it and they engage with it, you know? Abe says the interview with Renee DiResta and Professor Lichtman was really good. Everyone should watch it. Yes, I agree. And read her book, again, because she explains it a lot better than I did. What happened to Spotify in the Wisconsin video? It's non-Spotify. We might have just forgotten to put it up. I'm not sure. Victor says, right-wing motto, enrage to engage. Yeah. So should the left then get a provocating politician as well? I think they should. No, I don't think. I mean, I don't want that. I don't think that's a good thing for our country. Is that a good thing for the algorithm? Maybe. And is that a good thing for winning? Maybe. But Missy says, conspiracy. DJ T hates trans people because DJ T is an in-closeted trans person. That's a good one. That should be my next video. Donald Trump, closeted trans person, born a woman. That would be sick. Namby says, funny, not one word on Fox right now about tariffs. I mean, it's not surprising. Victor says, Bernie AOC combo is our only hope. They're the only ones doing good work in my mind, yeah. And Cory Booker. Joseph Schultz says, I used to be moderate Democrat. I think that's what you mean. A lot of those I used to work with as well have all left the Dem party because they went too far left. I'm an independent now and get accused of being far right. I don't think the Dems have gone too far left. I don't know. I'm not seeing that as their problem. Maybe in some circumstances. I don't know. Maybe on like the trans issues and some school issues, they went too far left. Nikki says Governor Moore of Maryland should run for president. I like him too. I like him a lot. Inlay says win first, change the world second, and that's what Trump did and is doing. Yeah, but also Republicans, they were like, all right, let's win first, then we'll get our agenda done. But now they're not. No Republican 10, 20 years ago would have been on this Trump agenda. But now they have to because they've put their souls on the table just to win. That's the issue. Philip H says the Republicans say that the Dems are too far left, but 99.9% of Dems are nowhere near left enough. That's kind of where I'm at. I think it's more like the Dems have let the right twist them into this like far left boogeyman that they're not even, and somehow they've let them do it. All right, my eyes are starting to get bleary, folks. I appreciate 200 people watching still. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I'm going to try to be live tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you check back on my channel tomorrow afternoon. We'll be chilling for the afternoon, being live, doing it live. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'm sure, the chances of the 200 people watching right now that are not subscribed is pretty low. But if you're not, please do it. I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you liking. I appreciate all of it because without you guys, none of this is possible. So